Horror as Southern California's ICUs reach their tipping point, 0% capacity, as nationwide more records for infections and deaths. Here's Miguel Almaguer.
Tonight, Southern California is on the brink of disaster, a region home to 23 million people and the country's second largest city, now reporting no open ICU beds.
There's so much stress on us, really working so hard through this, hours and hours and hours and hours per day, non-stop.
In a year filled with misery and loss, our nation is now in the depths of our darkest days. The pandemic took a record number of lives yesterday, while for the 11th straight day, hospitalizations soared to new heights.
COVID wards like this one are operating at capacity, and while this hospital has the unique ability to create more ICU beds, what they need desperately is staff.
Tonight, our country running out of space for the sick and the dying.
We know that the morgues are full. We know the coroner's full.
From Colorado to Missouri, funeral homes are also overwhelmed.
We're booking maybe 3 weeks out, and I'm talking about every day, sometime 2 and 3 a day.
Fearing another surge on top of a surge, authorities are pleading for Americans not to travel over Christmas, but upwards of 85 million still plan to hit the road.
Now's not the time to say, I'm just so tired of all of this, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. That would only make matters worse.
Small gatherings are now accounting for a large number of the sick. More than 17 million nationwide are infected.
I would honestly do anything to hurry her.
Catalina Montero lost her mother last month.
I'm personally heartbroken. I would honestly say my mom was probably my best friend, and I miss her every day.
One family's heartbreak amid a nation's grief.
And Miguel joins us now from Los Angeles. Miguel, it sounds like the situation in Southern California has escalated to critical levels. Is that how officials are describing it?
It is, Lester. Not only are ICU beds at full capacity, but inside many hospitals, doctors say there are not enough nurses to help care for the patients. In fact, in Southern California, some nurses say they're going to strike on Christmas Eve, saying the conditions for patients are simply dangerous inside ICUs and ERs, Lester.
I'm going to go ahead and say what I'm going to say, even though it's probably going to hurt some people's feelings. Whenever you have bad leadership, beginning with the president that we currently have right now, Donald J. Trump, that at first wanted to look at this like the common flu, or present it to the American people as it being the common flu, knowing that he knew better. And when you have people that have misled, excuse me for sneezing, I got all of a sudden an attack. When you have people in leadership positions that did not originally take this virus serious, this has added insult to misery pertaining to seeing what we're seeing right now on this particular level. This is the most horriblest, saddest thing that I think that I've ever seen in comparison to a war-torn country, or in comparison to, I'm going to say, a dozen Hurricane Katrinas at the same time. At the same time is what we're looking at in some of these places that are pandemically stricken by all this. And it's really, really sad, because we as an Americans can't just blame it all on one person, using Donald Trump as an scapegoat. We have to blame it, some of it, on ourselves towards not paying enough attention to all this, because we are experiencing something that only comes once in a blue moon. basically once every century on this level. And if we would have listened to the CDC and other medical experts before Thanksgiving, we would not be looking at what we're looking at right now in various places in this country. As of yesterday, I was putting out some material to a judge, a local judge here in Weakley County, Tennessee, by the name of Tommy Moore. Tommy Moore is one of the residing judges in Weakley County, Tennessee. He explained to me that he had just been diagnosed with COVID-19 the day before. And I expressed my deepest sympathies pertaining to what that he's going through right now. And it's not just him, but it's all the people that are going through what they're going through because things was not handled properly on the front end, going all the way back 30-something years ago, of a bunch of people that was scared to death because the ministers, the preachers of society have not been preaching and teaching the Bible accurately whenever it comes to Jesus, who taught to weep when they come into the world and to rejoice when they leave the world. You've got all these fantasy fiction preachers that have been preaching that we're supposed to have all this prosperity here up onto the planet towards driving brand new cars and living in brand new houses and having big bank accounts and having second houses, vacation houses, and big boats and big 401ks and all this other stuff. The Bible says, blessed are the poor. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the kingdom of God. Blessed are the peacemakers. We are dealing with something right now that even my great-grandfather may have experienced just a little bit. I would have to go back another generation to my great-great-grandfather or great-great-grandmother to be able to say they experienced the 1918 pandemic or 1919 pandemic pertaining to the Spanish flu. Thing about it is, people's immune systems back then was probably 10 times stronger than what they are today, because back then, the only thing that people knew to do was to work like a bunch of horses. Because that's the way they got things done, towards laying down railroad rail, digging holes with manual shovels, going into coal mines, and doing things the good old-fashioned way pertaining to farming in behind a team of mules. Those people, as far as their physical strength, was probably 3-to-1 in comparison to what the normal person's strength is today over here in America, due to the fact of how spoiled that we are and how soft that we have become with all our pleasures and all our conveniences. They didn't have air conditioner. They didn't have heater. They didn't have running water. They didn't have cars pertaining to highways. They didn't have all these other things that you and me have become accustomed to pertaining to TV and internet and all this other stuff. They was down to the bare bones. And it still took out a great deal of people, even though they was as stout and as strong as what they was. Like I said, I blame some of this on the leadership, beginning at the top. Whenever you have a president that knew that it was this lethal, contagious, the way that it spread and what it done to people. And when you have a president that wanted to play it off because he said that he didn't want to start a panic. When you give out the wrong images or the wrong signals the wrong appearances. You have a mixed up bunch of people that one day somebody says, well, don't you think it'd be smart to wear a mask? Why another one says, well, I ain't wearing a mask. Donald Trump don't wear a mask. How many people has gotten sick in the White House? How many Secret Service agents has gotten sick pertaining to this coronavirus? How many more people has to die a slow, agonizing death whenever they could have been standing up for a righteous, holy revival where all the non-Christians took out the true Christians of the opening of the second seal? You see, whenever you're dealing with a bunch of stereotypes, you're dealing with a bunch of people that basically think what they want to think and say what they want to say. Just a while ago, I just got through coming from Martin, Tennessee at the AT&T store because I had recently purchased a telephone that I'm becoming familiar with. My last phone I had for almost 6 years, even though I put out as much work as I put out on my data. But while I was in there, I was just in there 2 days ago, and I spoke to the individual, and I told him about some of the events that occurred in my life to look me up. Well, whenever I come back this time today, the same individual was standing there, and he was very, very savvy in the computer digital world. And I asked him, after he got through helping me out a little bit, I said, did you by chance look me up out of curiosity? He said, I sure did. I go, well, what did you think? He looked at me kind of funny. He said, man, they have said some nasty, nasty things about you. I said, yeah. They said the same thing, nasty things to Jesus Christ too, whenever he was with them and walking and talking among them. And all those things was nothing more than lies and propaganda. When you're dealing with all these devils down here that want to justify their actions, that's what they do. They bring up false accusations in trying to validate the reason why that they claim that they done what they done, or they heard what they heard, or whatever. Propaganda. A propaganda machine. Lies and deceit. And it's really, really sad in the era that we're living in right now. Please listen to the rest of this.
You've been on the front lines. We know what's happening inside the hospitals, but what is it like in Southern California?
In a while, they're carrying on. There's been a phone call. I'll update you on that.
Hired us to make your Humira taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin.
It's really, really sad whenever you know that the coronavirus is doing such destruction in the way that it's doing, and it could have been prevented. I heard a commentator just yesterday talking on the news, talking about how that he felt like that the surge on top of the surge, pertaining to the second surge, was going to be more lethal than the first surge. And he had even made a gesture, you might say a prediction, that before it's over with, we're liable to see as many as 4,000 people a day to become sick and dying of this disease. I'm going to go as far as to say that individual that I was listening to yesterday that predicted 4,000 people a day is probably off. I'm not going to make no prediction here, but I'm going to say he's probably off every bit of 500%. In other words, before it's over with, we're liable to see numbers such as 65, 75, 85,000 people dying in one day. We should have taken better attention to what was going on in New York City this spring whenever they basically had to shut their whole system down. Their whole grid had to be shut down, schools and everything. And it was massive, massive death that was befallen upon to that city. Well, now it's hit Southern California. And it's just a matter of time before it gets this bad in Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, Colorado, Arizona, and the surrounding states again. The pandemic is increasing instead of decreasing. The disease is evolving. It's got a mind of its own. And it's selecting who it attacks and how bad it attacks. That's the reason why that I said earlier that as far as I am concerned, part of it is biological, but the other part is supernatural. Because it says in the Bible that Lucifer, Satan, will rise up in great wrath in the last days, that is out to kill, steal, and destroy. The author of confusion, that he will rise up in great wrath in the last days. You know, we look at bad behavior, such as the school slayings, or the church slayings, or what happened down in Orlando in a nightclub, or what went on in Phoenix, Arizona, or in theaters, or in colleges or schools. We look at those things towards them being horrible and bad. This exceeds that. As I said a while ago, if you put a bunch of Katrinas together pertaining to the hurricane, that would be in comparison to what we're experiencing and what we're probably going to experience. Once more, I'm not predicting that there's going to be 7,000 deaths a day. I'm not predicting that there's going to be 8,000 deaths a day. But the way it looks, looking at the dynamics of all this, it looks like we're fixing to bottom out pertaining to seeing such destruction like we have never, ever seen before. And once more, the sad part about this is, whenever you fill up all those hospitals, when you fill up all those emergency ICU units, anybody else out here that has a heart attack, a stroke, falls down, gets involved in an accident, has an aneurysm, something else happens to them to the point that they have to be rushed in to the hospital, there's not going to be no room for the hospitals if the hospitals has already reached their level of capacity. It is one of the saddest moments that I have ever dreamed about, as in a nightmare, that could ever happen to the American people right now. And believe it or not, it's horrible here, but it's even worse in Mexico, places in Mexico, and places in South America and in other parts of the world. It's even worse. It's horrifying to see this type of horror.
Low blood sugar.
As we all ask when the pandemic will end, a team of scientists is on a mission to find out how it began. Keir Simmons now with the broadcast exclusive.
Within weeks, these 10 international scientists will travel to China to investigate the origins of the coronavirus. But tonight, NBC News understands many details of the politically delicate trip are unclear to the team. We've spoken to 3 of them.
This is an historic moment.
An early theory that COVID jumped from bats to another animal to humans at the wet market in Wuhan. We verified this image of a menu from there offering wild animals for sale, like live wolf cubs and civets. But there are many missing pieces, the scientists tell us.
Are you looking for a ground zero? And how confident are you that you'll find one?
There's no guarantees. This is not a one-time visit.
Their work will depend on cooperation from Chinese scientists and China, a country that has denied initially covering COVID up. Officially, the Chinese say the first patient got sick on December 1st, 2019. By January 2nd, 41 people were hospitalized with confirmed COVID. Many had no link to the market.
We will follow the traces wherever they take us.
The World Health Organization, which appointed the team, rejects criticism it's too close to China.
Are you confident that Chinese scientists are able to speak openly?
They're talking to us. We're talking openly about all the different hypotheses on the table. Politics are clearly there. We all know that.
And Peter Daszak himself rejects accusations he's too close to Chinese scientists. He told me his connections will help the investigation. Lester?
All right, Keir Simmons, thank you. When we come back, a teacher touched by an angel.
Coach Smith gave me an opportunity at 17.
The COVID-19 vaccines now in the arms of healthcare workers in West Kentucky. How many workers took part and what that means for people in our area.
Plus, we've reached another grim milestone in Kentucky on the COVID-19 front, the latest case numbers, and when we'll see more vaccines, and how your weekend weather is shaping up.
That's all ahead at 6.
They'll need someone to believe in them. And for one Virginia man, that person was a teacher who lifted him up at a scary time in his life. And now he is a teacher inspiring his students and America.
Just remember that you're smart. Repeat after me. I'm kind. I am kind.
Anthony Swan's lessons are life lessons.
So every day I see my children, I affirm them. What's the first word?
The 5th grade educator at Rocky Mount Elementary School teaching from chapters of his own story.
I think all of us had teachers growing up who just made that special impact. Who was that person for you?
That was my 4th grade teacher, my personal angel. That's what I call her. When I was in her class in 4th grade, social services knocked on her door and took me to a foster home. She grabbed me and she whispered in my ear. She said, "Anthony, everything is going to be all right."
Her name was Miss Wilson, and she searched for Anthony.
And when she found me, she just began to pour into me and began to tell me, you know, I don't want you to grow up to be like your parents. You can make something of yourself.
And boy, was she right. Swan was recently named Virginia's Teacher of the Year for 2021.
And I want to be a good, nice teacher like him. He makes me feel that I can do anything.
Our topic today.
He started what he calls Guys with Ties, teaching honesty and respect.
You seem to exemplify the whole notion of paying it forward. Is that important to you?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I just believe in giving back, because the same way that someone impacted me, because one word or one action can change somebody's life forever. Hence why I'm a teacher.
The kind of teacher you remember.
Thank you, Mr. Swan.
And that is Nightly News for this Thursday. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each.
WPSD Local 6, your breaking news and weather authority. This is...
First, the lengths to which the Trump administration went to deliberately advocate for her.
Good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, the breaking news. A breakthrough in the battle against coronavirus. Just moments ago, an FDA advisory panel giving the green light to a second vaccine, this one from Moderna. A final decision from the FDA could come at any moment. Now, this would mean tens of millions more doses for Americans. And in a moment, I'm going to speak to a world-renowned member of that FDA panel. But it is a race against time. Today, the CDC forecast the American death toll will climb to as many as 400,000 people before Inauguration Day. As of this moment today, we are on track for more than 3,000 deaths. And it will not surprise you that Trump said nothing about those deaths today. Nothing, not a tweet, nothing. But he did tweet, of course, 10 tweets today, half on untrue claims about the election. The one and only tweet about the virus was about the vaccine. And even here, as of now, he's all talk. He tweets, quote, "The vaccine and the vaccine rollout are getting the best of reviews, moving along really well. Get those shots, everyone." The president patting himself on the back, not empathizing with the bereaved or the suffering. And just given what he tweeted, we've got to check the facts. When it comes to the rollout, officials in Iowa, Illinois, Washington, Michigan, and Oregon say they have been told by the Trump administration to expect fewer doses than they planned for. And Washington's Governor Jay Inslee tweeting tonight this. This is from the governor of Washington. CDC has informed us that Washington's vaccine allocation will be cut by 40% next week, and that all states are seeing similar cuts. This is disruptive and frustrating. We need accurate, predictable numbers to plan and ensure on-the-ground success. No explanation was given. A 40% cut in what they were supposed to get next week with no explanation, and they say this applies to all states, that is a big problem. That's not okay. And it's not all. Pfizer says it has millions of doses sitting in its warehouses, with the Trump administration still not giving word as to where they should ship them. So these facts are relevant when, somebody is saying that the rollout is so amazing.
I want to say something real quick. Whenever it comes to immunizing smallpox, polio, or other major diseases, those was movements that took place that took as many as years before we finally eradicated the disease. For people to think that this is just immediately going to occur in this throwaway society that we live in, or in this instant society that we live in, if we think that this is going to up and go away overnight, we're only deceiving ourselves. If we think that this coronavirus, this medication, to contradict the severity of all this pertaining to the vaccination, if we think that this is going to be a cure-all, once more, we're living in La La Land. We're living in a fantasy. We have to remain vigilant. And we have to keep our guard up towards wearing the mask, proper hygiene, wash your hands, stay away from big crowds. Don't do stuff ignorantly to the point that you wind up getting the crud. Because you may get it and it don't get off of you. Once more, I go back to leadership of why certain elements was not done, leading to where we are right now to properly prepare the American people for this type of lethal disease that is now raking up onto our land. If there's ever been a time that we needed to embrace one another, pray for one another, and put aside these stupid, silly innuendos that odds are trivial to begin with, and right now I'm even speaking to myself, I believe it's today. I believe it's now. Now you keep in mind there's certain people that's going to be selected towards dying in the exchange of all this. Just like a tornado that comes through a neighborhood and you got a house that's sitting within 50 feet of each other. You got 10 homes. And the tornado selects 9 of them, but there's one house out of that whole neighborhood that don't even have a shingle blown off. You have to remember, God is in control, but it's the devil that's manufacturing this type of hardship. He's out to kill, steal, and destroy. And unless you've got the Heavenly Father on your side towards protecting you, just like that one home out of the 10, you may get something that you'll regret ever getting. And then on the other hand, there's another certain aspect of all of this, that some people are not worth the coronavirus in actually taking out. Because there's certain people that God is going to allow to live on this planet so that they can take the mark of the beast, 666, so that they will go through such pain and suffering because of their doings and how that they have lived a nonchalant Christian life. He's basically talking there in the first 4 chapters of Revelations that he rather thee either be hot or cold, that if thee are lukewarm, he will spew thee out of thy mouth. In other words, there's going to be people in society that lay await for something even greater than death. Something even worse than death. Something that goes beyond death. There does and can come a time in an individual's life that death will not be considered a horrible bad thing, but could actually become a good thing. If you was in a concentration camp on this last day of Hanukkah in 2020, the year of the Jubilee, and you was being ushered in like a bunch of livestock into gas chambers after starving, after being humiliated and being demonized and dehumanized, after starving to death and not having proper adequate care for your teeth and proper adequate care for your body, and your body was shriveling, and there was rats chewing on you at night, and there was bugs and all kinds of other diseases was setting in. Do you not think that those same people, a lot of them, was grateful that they walked into those gas chambers and they become deceased? Sure it was. There can come a time in an individual's life towards what either he or she is going through to the point that life is no longer appealing. But the only thing left is death to look appealing for. I personally am against suicide. I personally am against overdosing. I personally am against anybody that want to willfully either take their own life or take somebody else's life, because life is precious. It's extremely precious. But whenever humanity gets so out of focus and gets so out of tune that they live in a life the way that they're living, and they're supposed to be living a righteous, holy life according to the Christian standards, that's whenever Big Brother upstairs steps in, opens up the gate, and basically looks at Lucifer and says, do your job. Sick 'em. In other words, the Heavenly Father pulls that umbrella of protection away from that society and allows for this to happen. You see, a couple years ago, I had my camper parked up at Pebble Campground up at New Johnsonville, Tennessee, on the other side of the Tennessee River. That whole year in 2007, that whole year in 2008 was debatable towards a major earthquake that I'm not going to lie to you, I was praying that was going to happen at first to get back at some people that had caused this. But after looking at the situation very, very carefully, I denounced that prayer. And it was within about a week of where we are right now, a week before Christmas, in my little camper, Pebble Marina campsite, Humphrey County, Tennessee, denouncing that horrible, horrible event pertaining to a massive, massive earthquake pertaining to the New Madrid Fault in the West Tennessee area. But at the same time, while relinquishing me from any guilt of a major calamity, because I really don't think that I could have lived with myself by seeing so much suffering, untold suffering, pertaining to the roads, the bridges, and so many people that was going to die either in Memphis, from Memphis, Tennessee, all the way up towards St. Louis, pertaining to all the gas lines, the water lines, the sewer lines. I mean, you're talking about something major that will bring people to their knees to the point that suicide will be predominant in that area for months, while people are trying to recuperate from that. While praying that prayer, God, do not let this happen. Do not let this earthquake happen. At the same time, I prayed, God, this is your doings. You have chosen me to orchestrate the Windmill Ministries. I'm not going to pray hardship upon to my own people because of certain individuals that was part of this resistance movement going all the way back to 1980 and 8. And I said, I'm going to pray, God, that thy will be done. And whatever form of hardship that you want to bring up onto these people because of their unjust doing, because of their unrighteous lifestyle, then it will be brought upon by you. I truly believe that in the existence of that prayer, leading into all the complications that I personally had to go through in 20 and 19, led into 2020, January, of seeing things excavate and evolve the way that they have here in the USA, simply because of these type of illegitimacies that has went on. And to this day, I still do not have people that is willing to admit their wrongdoings about how that they either misrepresented, misunderstood, misinterpreted, or purposely sabotaged this ministry called the Windmill Ministries Missions. I have people to this day that I know that they know that they're guilty of sin, and they still have yet to make amends. So, as God is selecting, using the powers of the devil towards who lives and who dies, let's remember that right now, we could all be experiencing a utopia, a revival that went beyond anything that anybody could ever imagine if certain people would have done the right thing, knowing about biblical Bible prophecy fulfilling itself after 9 tapes wound up going to the White House. The Reagans, the Bushes, local, state, and federal governments are guilty here towards allowing for this type of calamity to fall upon to the people. simply because they was resisting the truth coming from the messenger, which is myself, because they didn't like the message. They didn't like the fact that somebody had stood up and started preaching that the first seal of the book of Revelation had been opened. But rather than them looking at the front end of the verse in regards to the second horseman, the second seal, they was more concentrated in the back end of the seal that reads, and that they shall kill one another, indicating the weak, the demonic, the mean, the cruel, the evil people that will take out the good people. They obscured, didn't pay no attention to the first part of the scripture in Revelation 6, 3 and 4, where it says, for he, not it, not her, but he was given power to take thereof, of taking peace from the earth. We have been going in the wrong direction since 1988 in the direction of chaos, hardship, cruelty, divorces, abortions, wars, fights, all kinds of problems pertaining to people's lives being turned upside down. We have gone in a 180-degree turn in the wrong direction because of various people that didn't want to see biblical Bible prophecy come true. What does the Bible say about this moment? If you'll study the Bible, in which it's very complex, the book of Revelations, in understanding its interpretation, that's the reason why you need good, strong teachers. But one of the things that I feel like that the general public can understand is that it says, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants here upon earth, pertaining to the sorrows and the catastrophics that will be befallen upon the humanity in these days. You know, whenever my great-grandfather rode a horse, and he wanted that horse to stop, it was nothing unusual to say to that horse, whoa! And once that horse heard that, and you pulled on his reins just a little bit, his bits, he immediately stopped, because he knew what that word meant, or what the vibration to that word meant. Woe, W-O-W, woe. Well, it talks about the woes in Revelations, that the first woe has occurred, and soon the second woe cometh. Soon, it don't say how soon. Just like it talks about in the Bible pertaining to a season. It don't exactly explain how lengthy or how long a season actually is. We think a season is a growing season, which basically takes about 3 months out of the year. But God's seasons are different than our seasons. God's timetable is different than our timetable. God's reality, obviously, is different than our reality, especially whenever you look at the teachings of Christ that said to weep when they come into the world and to rejoice as they're leaving, pertaining to people dying, especially if they've had a relationship with the Lord, knowing that their souls is going to a better place. The world has been deceived. And it's been deceived because our teachers have failed to teach them promptly and professionally. I give the teacher that was on this episode 2 thumbs up for not only having the passion of wanting to teach his pupils correctly, but also having the technique and the desire of wanting to do it and do it more effectively and efficiently. That way his students can truly understand what the teacher is trying to bring forth. And you know, if it's a good teacher, that's teaching in the trueness of humility. That teacher will know how to go about teaching that particular group of people more so than he will anybody else's group. You know why? Because that teacher has already come face to face with that group, and he has felt that group out, and he knows the weaknesses, he knows the strengths, he knows the desires, he knows what they can do and what they can't do. He has studied them as much as they have studied him, if not more, if you're a good teacher. It sickens me. It absolutely sickens me to see where this many people are dying over a senseless disease, to where if we had good, sound, strong leadership on the front end, and people would have taken this in a different format, if they would have taken this on a different level pertaining to the severity of its lethalness, I truly believe that the numbers that we're looking at right now would not be there pertaining to how high that they are. That's the past. The past is now considered spilt milk. Because it's considered spilt milk, now that past is gone. We can't dwell in the past. We can only dwell in the future, the present and the future. We need to learn from the past. That's the reason why I truly believe that the people stood up here in America and said, we're tired of Donald Trump's hogwash. We're tired of Donald Trump trying to politicize even our very own lives in regards to wearing a mask and proper hygiene. The people have spoken very elegantly and very clearly that they no longer want Donald J. Trump as their chief and commander, because they feel like that their chief and commander has let them down, has led them down a road of despair. A road of despair that could have been different if the leader, if the Minuteman, if the watchman on the wall would have warned his people ahead of time, more promptly and professionally, we wouldn't be seeing the fatality level like we're seeing right now. Once more, I'm not predicting for 7,500 deaths a day, or for 8,000 deaths a day, or for even 10,000 deaths a day here in America. But don't think that it may not be coming around the corner, or that it's not impossible. Don't think that. Because it is possible. When you got over 340 million people, I think it is, in the continental United States, don't think that those numbers that we just got through mentioning couldn't come true. And I pray to God that they don't. Even one life being taken is a tragedy. Much less 3,000 lives, or 2,500 lives, or 3,500 lives a day. One life is a tragedy. Just one life that didn't get to live out its full potential. Regardless whether they was 9 or 90. Each person's life is valuable. The most valuable thing that you and me will ever have access to is not only our personal life, but our spiritual life. That's where people such as myself come in at, towards telling my viewers, if you do not have a proper relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, please, please give your heart and your life over to Him today before it is too late. Please let the Holy Spirit intervene in your life that draws you to be saved. For you cannot save yourself. You cannot save yourself. Only Christ that died on the cross, the blood of Christ, can save my soul, your soul, or anybody else's soul. Thanks again for listening. We're going to listen to just a little more of this, and then we're going to shut it down. Good luck to each and every one of us, and yes, shalom. On the last day, leading into the final day of the day of Hanukkah 2020, the year of the Jubilee.
The biggest issue with Trump tweeting to get the shots is actually this. The president so far is not taking his own advice. This is just another example of do as I say, not as I do.
I'd have no problem wearing a mask. I'm good with masks. I'm okay with masks. I have nothing against masks.
What is it again that we all learned as toddlers? Actions speak louder than words. Trump has made his disdain for and his mockery of masks clear every single day. After all, this is what he did when he had coronavirus after spending 3 nights at the hospital. Still contagious with coronavirus, he ripped his face mask off when he wasn't even socially distanced from a cameraman. Okay. He has made his feelings clear again and again and again. When the president was out, either at the White House with supporters or traveling, you see it there, shot after shot after shot. We all know the guy never wore a mask. He does not practice what he preaches. And that is part of the problem here. So when the president says, get your shots, he should explain his exact plans to get his. Because all we know is that Dr. Fauci said of Trump and the vaccine, quote, if you were asking me, I'd recommend that he do that. So if Trump is not doing it right now, and if he is not doing it for a specific reason, maybe linked to his antibodies, who knows? He should explicitly explain why. He should lay out the exact timeline for when he's going to get it. He should do so proudly. He could do good by doing this. Because one new poll shows that the president's supporters are more than 4 times as likely as Democrats to say they are not going to get vaccinated. He can make a difference with that. And it's time for him to set an example and do the right thing with something related to the virus. Caitlin Collins is out front live near the White House. And Caitlin, again, the president today, totally silent about what's going on here. Only one tweet, actually, about the coronavirus situation, most about the election again.
If I personally have the opportunity, because of my overlying conditions of being a diabetic, if they will allow for me to have a shot of the vaccination shot, I would more than gladly take it, and I would more than gladly take it while they was filming me and put it on social media, because that's how much confidence that I do have in the science in regards towards having an anti-resistant formula that will basically be put into your body. That way, it'll give out a false image that you got the coronavirus. That way, your antibodies, your white cells, will start building up stronger to the point that if it ever recognizes it again, it will know to attack that particular disease or that particular atom that I'm talking about before it gets so bad that it winds up killing somebody. Or that's what the theory of it is. The theory of it is that if you go ahead and take your vaccination shot, just like the flu, it builds up a certain immunity in your system to the degree that if you do come in contact with it, your blood cells will have a memory of it. It'll be coded into your DNA. That way, it will know to attack the real thing, because it's already been selected or pre-trained of attacking the real thing. Yes, I would take the medication in a heartbeat if I had the opportunity of taking it. I'd take it right now.
Yeah, and none of his tweets are about the hospitalization rates that you're seeing or the death rates that we're seeing, with 3,000 Americans per day dying, topping those death tolls on a daily basis, which of course is what's concerning medical officials who say, yes, the vaccine news is good, but we have to focus on still what's happening across the country. And so the president's one tweet was about the vaccines, but he's viewing it less through, this breakthrough and more through the lens of the coverage that it's getting, as you've seen the president do with many things throughout his presidency. The way he sees something is shaped by how others are viewing it and how it's being covered on cable news and in print headlines. And that seems to be the case here. And that's something that's frustrated a lot of his staffers, because they've wanted the president to take a more public role in this education campaign about the vaccine. And instead, we have not seen that from the president. He's not going to be the first person from the administration to get the vaccine on camera. Instead, it's going to be, we've already seen the defense secretary get it, but we're going to see the vice president get it alongside the second lady tomorrow morning around 8 o'clock, alongside the Surgeon General as well. And they said explicitly they're doing that to try to instill confidence in people, of course, about getting the vaccine. And when you talk to people in the White House, they say that's because the president already had coronavirus. He still has antibodies. But some others wish that the president will at least commit to when he is going to get it. And so far, Aaron, they have not specified that. So I think that's some of the cause for concern that's coming inside the White House. And it's really part of this larger effort that we've seen, or lack of effort, where the president has been basically out of public view the entire time since he lost the election. We saw it again today, where he was behind closed doors once again. He's stayed behind closed doors since Saturday when he went to that Army-Navy game, did not answer questions from reporters on his way out the door. And you're hearing people, say he does only have 5 weeks left on the job, but they wish that he would actually do the job, at least publicly, in these last 5 weeks.
Yeah, and even that game, right? He barely stayed at, just not the way he usually acts. All right, Caitlin, thanks very much. Out front now, a member of the FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee, Dr. Paul Offit. He is also an attending physician in the Division of Infectious Diseases at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, one of the most renowned experts on vaccines, and also, of course, regarding children. So let me ask you, Doctor, the Moderna vaccine, hours away from a likely emergency authorization, millions more doses than available. Your committee today, 20 in favor, 1 abstention to authorize the vaccine. That's even better than on the Pfizer vote. Do you have any concerns about the Moderna vaccine?
Well, certainly from a safety and efficacy point, it looks great. It's 95% effective against disease. It's 100% effective against severe disease across all racial and ethnic groups. And we know that it's safe in tens of thousands of people who've been followed for a couple months after they've gotten the vaccine. But, there's a famous vaccine researcher named Maurice Hilleman who said, quote, "I never breathe a sigh of relief until the first 3 million doses are out there." 20,000 people isn't 20 million people. So you want to make sure that there's no surprises. I think be humble in this and keep your eyes open. But I'm optimistic that this vaccine is exactly what it appears to be.
Okay, and one thing we know it is that the same technology that the Pfizer vaccine uses, an old technology, but being used in a novel way. However, there are big differences between them. And one of the big differences is that one of them is a lot harder to control than the other, right? Pfizer's got to be kept so cold and, after X number of minutes. And, it's difficult, okay? Moderna doesn't have those same issues. If you have the choice between Pfizer and Moderna, which one would you take?
Whichever one I can get. I mean, safety and efficacy-wise, they're indistinguishable. It's going to be hard to get enough vaccine out there. Whatever is available in my hospital, I'm going to get.
All right, so you're a pediatrician, speaking of your hospital. What about children? When are children going to get this?
Right. So first they need to be tested to make sure that the vaccine is equally safe and effective in children. That's already happening, and it'll continue into early next year. Hopefully by the middle of next year, we'll have enough data in children to be able to comfortably immunize them as well.
All right. So I guess that would do it by the school year, the new school year. So let me ask you something that could be significant. Volunteers in the trial, the way trials work, you don't know whether you got the real vaccine or a placebo. And the full length of the Moderna trial is 2 years. So to really know the full side effects, all of that, you'd wait 2 years. But I know there was a big debate today, and there's a big debate over whether anyone in that trial should be told, hey, look, you know what, you got the placebo, and we're going to give you the real vaccine, right? Given the nature of the virus, that you would allow them all to get the actual vaccine. That would make it harder to determine the long-term effects of the vaccine, obviously, in the trial. Where do you fall on this?
I think let's suppose you're in the 1A category, where you're an essential healthcare worker, or you live or work in a long-term care facility. It's time for you to get the vaccine. If you got a placebo in that trial, I think you should get this vaccine. We know that this vaccine works. We know that it's safe. And if you're in a high-risk condition, like you live or work in a long-term care facility, or you're on the front lines in healthcare, I think you should get the vaccine. I think that's the ethically correct thing to do.
All right. So the president today, I said there was one tweet related to the virus, and it was about the vaccine and that the rollout is getting the best of reviews. So the big question I have around this is what we're just finding out this hour, though. And Dr. Alfred, I don't know if you've heard this, but multiple states have now been told that they're going to get fewer doses of the Pfizer vaccine than they were counting on and that they've been guaranteed. And the governor of Washington says they're going to get 40% less next week than they were told, and that this is nationwide and that the CDC is giving them no reason for this. Health officials say they're confused and they're frustrated. Does this surprise you to learn this?
Not a lot. I mean, the old line is that the hardest part of making vaccines is making vaccines, meaning mass producing them. It's hard to schedule success. I mean, this is a complicated product. It has the mRNA, which is not that hard because it's synthetic, but that complex lipid delivery system, that little fatty droplet, it's never been scaled up before, and we have to assume that there's no stumbling at all with that, and there might be some stumbling. I just can't wait till we get these vaccines out there, though, because we need them. And I think the hardest part on this is that, for example, at our hospital, we will give the frontline people a dose, which is assuming then that we get enough vaccine then 3 weeks from now
to give them
to
the
give
booster.
people that second dose. So I'm sorry, say it again.
To give them the booster, but you're saying, you don't necessarily even know that they're going to get that.
That you have to know that you're promised right now that you get enough for dose one and that you therefore will get enough for that second dose. And we have to count on that being true.
Right. Obviously, these are the crucial questions out there. Doctor, I appreciate your time. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you.
And I want to go now to Dr. Jonathan Reiner, Director of Cardiac Cath Lab at GW and advisor to the White House medical team under President George W. Bush. So, Doctor, you got the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine this week. The Moderna obviously has some advantages in terms of, you don't have to worry about whether it's temperature changed or anything like that in its transport. So what do you think in terms of the vaccine? Would you take either one if it's available?
Absolutely. And my message to the public is whatever vaccine you can get, you should get. It's possible that over the next several months, we'll have a little bit more data that maybe will help us inform whether one vaccine is better with a particular group, let's say the elderly, et cetera. Yeah. But for now, the best vaccine is the one you can get.
Okay, so the president, as I mentioned, one tweet about all this today, it was on the rollout, which of course is having some maybe understandable but very serious issues, and saying people should get the shot. Now, obviously, the vice president and the second lady, Karen Pence, they're going to get the vaccine tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. They're going to do it publicly. That's a good thing. We do know that Trump supporters are much more likely to say they're not getting the vaccine than anybody else. And we know that Trump, while saying people should get the vaccine, is not getting it himself and has offered no details as to why or when. What is going on here? Doesn't he owe it to people? Does medical team owe it to people to give a detailed explanation for the plan here?
Yeah, I think to paraphrase Abba Eban, the president never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. All that he has to do now is come out, even if he's not going to get the vaccine now, is come out and enthusiastically say, we are so pleased that we have these great options now for the public. Every American needs to be vaccinated. The First Lady and I are going to be vaccinated as soon as our doctors tell us it's the appropriate time, and we'll do it on camera. Every American, hear me say this, get vaccinated. But yet he doesn't do this. His inability to do that with masks has likely resulted in hundreds of thousands of unnecessary American deaths.
See what I was just saying? His lack of ability in good leadership. This doctor, this is a doctor talking now, just got through verifying the very stuff that I was talking about. Let's listen to it one more time.
Now he has not...
Back up. Hope.
Is come out and enthusiastically say, we are so pleased that we have these great options now for the public. Every American needs to be vaccinated. The First Lady and I are going to be vaccinated as soon as our doctors tell us it's the appropriate time, and we'll do it on camera. Every American, hear me say this, get vaccinated, but yet he doesn't do this. His inability to do that with masks has likely resulted in hundreds of thousands of unnecessary American deaths. Hundreds of thousands of unnecessary American deaths. Thousands of unnecessary American deaths. Hundreds of thousands of unnecessary American deaths. Now he has an opportunity to sort of partially right that wrong by being a vocal proponent of vaccines, and he's not doing it. It's unforgivable.
And what about the rollout? You heard Dr. Offit.
And he's proponent of vaccines, and he's not doing it. It's unforgivable. And he's not doing it. It's unforgivable. It's unforgivable.
And what about the rollout? You heard Dr. Offit say, just the scale of what's being attempted here, you're going to have some stumbles. We all get that. Putting aside the president, saying everything is great when there's issues, I want to ask you about the specific thing that Washington Governor Jay Inslee is saying, obviously a long-term adversary of the president. He says, at CDC Gov has informed us that Washington's vaccine allocation will be cut by 40% next week and that all states are seeing similar cuts. No explanation was given.
Right.
Okay, that's not just like, oh, we're getting a little bit less. That's 40% less. That is a huge swing, and he's saying it affects all states. What do you think is going on?
It's coming from the federal government. This afternoon, Pfizer put out a statement saying that they have millions of doses in their warehouses waiting for delivery instructions. They don't have delivery instructions, right? That's what our federal government should be doing, organizing the distribution of these vaccines. They've been manufactured, they're waiting to go, and there are arms that are waiting for them. The District of Columbia, where I work, has over 700,000 people, but it's flooded with more people during the day when people come into work. There are 80,000 healthcare workers. DC this week got 7,000 doses, right? So few that the governors of Maryland and Virginia are now sending 8,000 doses each to the District of Columbia. These kinds of snafus are unacceptable, and we need the vaccines distributed in a timely fashion. There's an enormous amount of virus out. We need to vaccinate the healthcare workers and then get it out into the population.
All right, deeply concerning here. What's happening with these both of those threads, as we said, 40% less vaccine available next week to the country, and millions of doses sitting, not knowing where to go. Dr. Reiner, thank you very much. And next, we're going to take you to California, which has just shattered its own record for new deaths in a single day. Top Health Director calling the situation untenable. Plus, every vote in Georgia has been counted multiple times.
You're not going to send a fireman into a burning, blazing house without wearing proper uniform. That way he or she could have a stronger survival rate in going into the house, saving whoever he or she's going to save, and then coming back out without endangering their own lives. These healthcare workers that have been strained, that have put their lives out on the line, God bless them. 2 thumbs up to them, because they have basically went into a battle and they themselves did not have proper equipment. They did not have proper protocol in protecting them from the very thing that they was trying to fight. So these people that have done this, as far as I'm concerned, they need to be treated as heroes. These first responders, these people that have put their lives on the line to save other people's lives, they need to be looked upon as being super heroes. The pandemic is now getting ahead of the medication. Once more, if we would have had proper instructions that it was this lethal, maybe we could have controlled it in a better form or a better fashion. The good doctor, what he made gestures of, I'm afraid is right. And one day, Donald Trump will have to stand in front of his maker. And God is going to look down at Donald Trump and ask him, why didn't you as the watchman on the wall, tell your people the truth. Because of dereliction of duty, you have abandoned. You have deserted. You should be charged for desertion because you did not do the proper thing that the people put you in power to do. Desertion is what people like Donald Trump should be charged with.
And yet, we're
with the therapeutic benefits of all.
These are the basic things that you can help us provide by calling the number on your screen.
Joe Biden's race, someone who's not going to be at the table this Christmas, not going to be at the table Thanksgiving. It's the 900,000 who are applying for unemployment, while Marco Rubio, the most offensive thing to him is not skyrocketing COVID rates in Florida. It's not the fact that you've got people who are being evicted and kicked out of their homes. It's not the fact that the Russians are attacking us. It's not the fact that your sitting president tried to cheat. It's not the fact that your sitting president insulted you. The most terrible thing in the world is that a Latinx congresswoman from the Bronx exists, and that these sorts of people are out there and empowered. So he wants to fight with Alexandria Cortez. He wants to get mad about women who are empowered in the Biden administration. That's more offensive to him than hundreds of millions of people who are suffering across this country.
To make an even bigger impact, for just $10.
Save thousands of dollars in interest over the life of your mortgage.
They don't believe it. They think we're the cause of the world's problems, and that's just a lie. And I think the people of Georgia are going to prove the fact that this country at its core
I'm about to
is
get cut
good.
off. Hogan, thank you. It's good to see you again. Thank you very much for being here tonight. New audio just in from the president-elect talking about his son, Hunter. We're going to bring that to you on the other side of this break. And then the immaculate deception. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro's 35-page report that he put together outside of his White House work hours, detailing these
Georgians just.
Tonight, nearly 76,000 Georgians newly eligible to vote in the state's crucial Senate runoff elections, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That is a lot of people, and more than half of them are under the age of 35, and that includes a lot who just turned 18. You know what? Those November and December birthdays. It's a key voting group that could make the difference in these races. Kyung-Hwa is out front.
It has taken his two beloved candidates who are corrupt, who are running in Georgia, okay, who wouldn't know what the word want even means, or what the word needy even means. And he's worried that people are catching on. And so he may.
Then the left will win. So they are determined to go and vote. And having Senator Loeffler and having.
Family needs it. With hassle-free claims, he got.
Student debt, we will unleash the power of the American economy.
Let's get out here and do it.
Grassroots group Georgia Stand Up says the youngest voters may be the difference maker. 18 to 24-year-olds made up 12 percentage points of Georgia voters in November. A small group. But Joe Biden won the state by less than 1 point.
That vote right there for any candidate is going to be one that makes the difference. Because as you see, when they show up, they show out.
Eroding through the tissue, and that is what can usually cause significant damage and make that ingestion so fatal and deadly.
Each year, U.S. poison control centers get more than 3,500 reports of button battery ingestions. Stopping it from happening is simple. Keep button batteries out of sight and reach for small children. Check the screws on toys and devices children have access to, and keep loose batteries locked away. Finally, don't wait if you think your child may have ingested one.
The most important thing you can do is to go immediately to your closest emergency department. Don't delay care.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
Coming up.
How you going to do that whenever all the hospital beds is full and all the doctors is full and everybody's overwhelmed because of the coronavirus? You see, one thing, it's just like a bunch of dominoes. One thing affects another thing, while another thing affects something else. And each thing affects something else. What you have here is the perfect storm the perfect storm for one of the greatest catastrophes that has ever befallen upon to the American people in the past 100 years. This will be worse than Pearl Harbor. This will be worse than 9/11. This will be worse than a dozen Katrinas hitting America at the same time. This will be worse than all the fires out west, all the floods. This is one of the most horriblest events that a strong, mighty nation such as the America can go through pertaining to its own people. And like I said, like the doctor said, and I'm going to end this, and which I said that a while ago, but I'm going to end this. Donald Trump and his whole administration will have a great deal to be accountable for one day when they stand in front of their Maker. And God's going to look at them and say, I gave you the knowledge. I gave you the tools. I gave you the sense towards what to do and how to do it. Why didn't you do it? Shalom to all of us.